Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhammang sanghang namasami. Dear friends, I thought that this morning would be a good morning to meditate for peace, since everybody needs to be a bit more peaceful. Very often people come into the Dhamma talk or the meditation with a certain amount of agitation, excitement, or mental running around, and they need to settle down in order to get the benefit of meditation. And also, this settling down of the mind, coming to stillness, having the brain take a rest, even for 20 minutes or 30 minutes, from continuous thinking and planning and reacting and fabricating and having opinions and so forth. Letting the mind have a rest from that creates an opportunity for healing, for the mind to come back to a much more healthy, resilient, good space. And then afterwards, if you have to go out into a stressful situation, whether it be the work or the family or the public or anything in life which is challenging or difficult, having had that chance to de-stress and recover a little bit, you might be able to keep that centered and peaceful feeling, and to project that peaceful feeling into your world after the end of this meditation. If you could do that, you could help somebody else to calm down. So, meditating for stillness and relaxation does enable meditation. It does help to both the physical and psychological recovery and healing. And it helps us to bring something excellent out into the world at the end of meditation, when we have to go back and face reality. So, having said all that, let's come to an upright and balanced posture. Making the body comfortable as possible, to let the body be still. Feel the weight of the body pressing the seat or the cushion. Feel the weight of the hands resting on the lap. Feel the contact of the seat or the legs or the feet on the floor. Connecting to the earth element. Letting go of thoughts about the past or future. Just staying in the present moment. Taking a deep breath, aware of the air element, the movement or energy of the body and breathing. The energy is lifting up. The wind element or the air element lifting up, and the earth element relaxing and settling down. Both things are present. Aware of the sensations in the body. Whatever sensation is noticeable. Watching that for a moment. And allowing awareness to be relaxed. So many sensations come and go. The mind is still, has nothing to do except watch. Notice the sensations. And if the breath is noticeable, letting awareness rest on the breath. Keeping awareness on the body, the breath body, or if a sensation comes up in the body, notice that. If a thought comes up, try to notice how that's held in the body, mind and body connected. So keep bringing awareness back to the body, letting go of the thoughts, not chasing after them, staying with the breath, or expanding awareness to include the whole body, or just the rise and fall of breath. There's enough there that's amazing, interesting, fascinating to watch. Just letting awareness be still, nothing to do but relax and watch. Visualize the still emptiness of space, the space element outside, and the space within, perfectly empty, still, boundless, with no limits. letting the peacefulness of space come into the body and fill the whole body with peace. And radiating outside that thought of peace. May the whole world come to peace. Breathe peace. Radiating peace for the whole world with no limitations, boundless, everywhere, outside, inside, all around. Welcoming Ayya and Mima, who have joined together with Esther and Cameron this morning. I would be so happy to hear how this meditation was for you, or if not, what question you have about practicing for peace, or if not that, your success in being peaceful. And if not that, just give your blessing and your good wish. So I think there's time for everybody to speak. Yes.
Okay, I'm in California, and this is the hour of my breakfast, and I already worked for an hour, so I came in between. But something I've done as far as contributing to the peace in the world is I went to a retreat on June the 1st, and I was there for 8 days. And I've not gone on the news. I don't know what's happening in the world. And my practice has increased. It's so much easier for me to meditate. And I feel that I want, like what you just said, I want my practice to be the contribution towards peace by not getting involved in what I'm hearing through friends, like small comments, because they're respecting that I don't know what's going on. To be my contribution to the world as far as being peaceful. And it feels really good not to know. And I can imagine that before TV and all that other stuff, we had to wait months and maybe years before we knew anything. Mm-hmm. And how much more peaceful times must have been to not know what was happening. So I think people have their own opinion about this, but I'm really enjoying it. I feel like I'm in a bubble.
Yes.
Thank you, Ayya, and I'm good to see you.
Mm. But even going to the grocery store can be something like going out into the battlefield when you are with people who are experiencing a lot of tension or upset. And in that way, to the extent that we can keep peace alive within, and to carry that with our deportment in our minds, it does contribute a lot. So thank you for that. I'll call on Esther.
So the question is, what have I done to help with peace? Is that the question? Just to clarify.
Well, I gave you 4 options.
Okay.
How was the meditation? What have you done for peace? Or your blessing?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the meditation was lovely. I really liked the void visualization. I found that very calming. I want to say that. And then in terms of what have I done for peace, it's not something I've actually done, but something I'm actively working on, is saying less and reacting less and not taking everything other people say personally, even if it is said about me. Do you know what I mean? Like, because a lot of times it isn't. you know what it is, but you know what I mean? Just not putting back like
Yeah.
uh negativity back, because it just bounces around, it just keeps it going. So and for peace for myself, I just let it go. You know, like so
Yeah.
it's both peace for me and peace for everyone else. I feel like it's something I've been working on for a while now.
Are you interested in realizing the full wisdom of Buddhism?
I would I would love to know the full it sometimes I get a little overwhelmed. Um
Yeah.
I was raised fundamentalist Christian, and I'm not that. And I discovered Buddhism through Ayya, well, from school, and then I found an interest and I found Ayya. And yeah,
Yeah.
I'm interested in Buddhism. It's just sometimes I get a little overwhelmed with all the information and can't remember it all either, to be honest.
The reason I mention it is that one of the most difficult lessons in Buddhism is about not self, or realizing that the person, the one you see in the mirror, doesn't have a permanent, unchanging essence, but instead is just the result of cause and conditions and so forth. But when you said you don't take it personally, actually, you're right, going in the direction to realize the wisdom about non-self. One of my best Dhamma friends, a laywoman, who she passed away a couple of years ago, but she was in, especially in her old age, she was fully dedicated to meditation. And one of her slogans was, "It's not personal. Whatever comes up, whatever could cause distress, or whatever we think about, like my position, my reputation, anything that we are suffering about because of holding on to, just those words, it's not personal." And this is what you just described. So that's a wonderful practice. Not only when people insult you, but at all times, all day long. I could spend a week or a year just developing that thought, trying to think as much as possible. Yes, oh, it's not personal. Yeah, it's really good. Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you.
Well, I was thinking a little bit about protecting the mind and a little bit about cultivating the skills to be okay with whatever comes up in the world. So there's separating from information, the news, the irritating people, and you know, whatever else there might be that is difficult. And then there's developing the quality and the characteristics that make it possible to be at peace no matter what. And you know, I find it a lot more easy to be peaceful when things aren't aggravating me. Surprise, surprise. Even my cats are that good too, you know, as long as nothing is aggravating them, they're highly peaceful beings. And then as soon as something aggravates them, then you find out exactly what is there underneath that calm. And I'm thinking of what the Buddha said to that monk Bahaguna, who was getting in quarrels with other monks. And the Buddha said, and I'm not going to quote precisely, but what I take it to mean what he said was that we don't call a monk peaceful who's peaceful when he gets the robes and he gets the requisites and he gets the food and everything, shelter and all that he wants. We call a monk peaceful who's peaceful when he doesn't get these things. That, you know, when words that hit your ears are agreeable, then we don't know if you're peaceful. But it is when everything that comes along that's not agreeable, not desirable, not wanted, then we know the extent of someone's peace. And then there's Eleanor Roosevelt's quote, very famous quote. People are like tea bags. You don't know how strong they are until they're in hot water, right? Something like that. And so I think we have to kind of titrate. We have to have time away from irritating factors, difficult factors, and reconnect with that sense of peace. But we also want to be strong in our wholesome qualities to where we're peaceful no matter what. I were having a conversation, was it last night? I think it was last night. Would I be peaceful if I were in a circumstance of torture, as we know some other people in the world have been, and even some have been peaceful even then. And I have to admit that sometimes even small things can cause a little bit of huffiness or irritability. So if that is the case, if even a small thing can shake my sense of peace, then what of large things? Now, of course, sometimes mindfulness rises up with a certain enthusiasm because of being aware that this is a very hazardous time for my mind, that my mind could really go off the rails under this or that circumstance. So sometimes when the circumstances are more challenging and difficult, the mindfulness rises to meet it, and I can be okay. Like when my father was in his last minutes, I became super aware that what I did with my mind in that moment, right that instant, as moment by moment, was going to have a long-term impact on my mind. And my mindfulness rose to meet that moment. And I was able to meet it with an extraordinary grace that I was not really even accustomed to arousing. So maybe under torture, maybe I would have that level of consideration or circumspection to know the stakes are really high now. The slightest bit of wavering by my mind into unwholesome states, I'm going to be dead in the water in terms of wholesome states. They will be hard to gain for a while. So maybe I would be like some great beings who have faced extraordinary difficulties with a peace of mind. One can hope. So I do like to have times of complete safety, complete dropping of any guardedness, and kind of recharge. But I do want to be somebody who can be right in the middle of everything and still manifest the peace that the world is so hungry for.
Thank you, A. What you say reminds me of the four corruptions, or the four, we call the taints, the asavas. These are actually the things that the world goes to war about. And the definition of a fully enlightened arhat, one is that they have completely cut off and broken those four kinds of corruption. And so this is actually what we would be like if we really achieve what the Buddha has in mind for us. The first one is the corruption of sensuality. It doesn't just mean having fun or pleasure or something that feels really nice. This kama also includes all kinds of materialistic things that we accumulate and get to that are part of our enjoyment. So all of our toys, having a house, having a lot of relatives and have all your relatives be in good health, have a lot of servants and all of your servants are obeying you and doing what you want, having a lot of animals and the animals are all healthy.
Having internet.
The roof is thatched. You've got your games, you've got your toys, you've got your internet, you've got a bank account, you've got a good insurance policy, everything is taken care of, that you feel like it's all set, and you'll be healthy, your children will be healthy, your grandchildren will be healthy, and you'll be able to have a healthy, happy, and comfortable life, and you've got to arrange so that at the end of your life, you'll be able to get into a first-class nursing home. And so that this whole kind of like package of materialistic comfort and the extra cushioning layers of safety that we build up are one of the corruptions. And people go to war about it.
Mm.
If we take away my stuff, take away my security, take away my insurance, that is one of the causes of war. Another cause of war is um, existence. This is usually described in a technical kind of way, like if you don't crave for that kind of materialistic existence, they crave for being reborn in heaven and having a heavenly existence after the end of this lifetime. But also, when you say existence or becoming, that it's like I am somebody. I exist, and my existence is secure. We see this especially with a country. So if the existence of my country is being threatened, then they believe let's go to war. Or if the leaders can trick people into thinking that their existence is in danger, that's a very good way to get them to stir up to go to war. During World War II, you had Sartre and the different existential philosophers. So they wrote about existential anxiety, that people were under this burden that they thought like the human race could be destroyed by the nuclear holocaust or something like that, and that this anxiety was like a constant burden to be this continuous tightness. So a person who is not clinging to existence or for longing for an eternal existence is somebody who's really free from disturbance, somebody who doesn't need to go to war. And then another one of the taints, it's not always in all the lists, but sometimes it is the taint of views and the taint of opinions. We see this maybe not so much among people who are like less educated. Maybe it's true among all people, but I tend to see it among philosophers and educated people, that you've got different opinions, and they become the opinions become sort of like a banner. Like I'm a Marxist, or I'm a socialist, or I'm a something else or something else. I shouldn't use political words because who knows what I might touch. But these system of opinions, this happens in religious areas as well. Like different groups used to debate about what is the causation of karma, how one suffers the repercussions of one's actions within this life and in a subsequent lifetime. And that would be exactly the kind of a debate that, they would get into this professional argument. And then would say, you put second way. You should have been first. You did it first it the right way. You are defeated. So like this, so they would like fight about opinions. They do it almost like for fun, but then it gets to be not fun because the person who's defeated has been humiliated, and then they would like to get their revenge by making sure that the other fellow doesn't get tenure or something like that. So this is another cause of war, is the war about views. So when the leaders tell you that, like, our system is the system that should prevail everywhere in the entire world, and anybody who's got a different system ought to be wiped out, that's a cause of war. Okay, I'll call on Esther.
Oh, I was thinking that all seems tied to ego.
Yes. All of these things do tie to ego. They all tie to the self.
Mhm.
And then the last one is all the corruption of ignorance. And that ignorance is specifically not knowing that all things are impermanent, not knowing that everything in this conditioned world is inherently unsatisfactory, and not knowing that there is not a, a permanent, essential self to be found in anything. So if you don't know those things, you can so easily fall into all of the other um, corruptions, and so easily go to war. If I think that somebody else is evil, and I believe in the self, and I believe that that person is an essence of evil, and they are always going to be that way, and they will never change, and it's an intrinsic quality of them, well, then I should kill them or something. Who knows what to do? But if I realize that all things are arising and continuously changing because of causes and conditions, then I've got a completely different approach to it. The same way, if I think that it's permanent, like if my country is injured, that injury is going to be permanent and it's never going to change, never going to be forgotten, then I have to fight. But if I realize that everything is continuously changing, that whatever happens eventually can heal, can overcome, then it's much easier to be peaceful. So that's another way of thinking of, the Buddha was talking about these things that were like deeply internal and personal and almost like private to an individual, but he was also looking at the world. And he looked around and he saw people picking up weapons and going up one side of the Ganges and down the other side of the Ganges, killing everybody. And so it's part and parcel of the same process, the same procedure, the same teachings that are the teachings for maybe individual, this wonderful state of being not attached to anything, so one can never be disturbed and can always experience that personal freedom of uh, uh, of not being forced to react to anything. That's individual, but it also has a social aspect, a community aspect. Back to you, Ayya.
I'm good.
Okay. Our world evolves in terms of culture. Here's a comment. Cameron says, I lived for a couple of years in college with a young man who had picked up dead bodies every day in the mortuary division in Iraq. After he got back, his entire focus was religion. Yes, absolutely. Because you lose the personal delusion, even though rationally we know we're not going to live forever in this form. An ignorant, thoughtless person could have the delusion they're going to live forever. Or they could have the delusion that at least they're going to live to be 80 or 100. And if they have to die young, that's some kind of a mistake. So that's another part of delusion. The contemplation of the asubha, contemplation of the dead body, is a tremendous medicine for the corruption of sensual desire. It just calms it down right there. How we live and what we think and what we understand and how we react to things is partly determined, like by the genetics of being born with the human body. There's certain kind of things that are built in, like you pull away from fire, and when you feel hungry, it's very easy to eat and so forth like that. But also to a very large extent, what we're able to think is determined by the culture that we live in and the culture we were brought up in. It's very challenging even to imagine projecting back to what it was like 2,600 years ago during the lifetime of the Buddha, to try to understand how people thought at that time, because the culture has evolved between then and now. The reason I mentioned about culture is co-created among people whenever they talk to each other. So when you think about the Dhamma and practice meditation and hear about the Dhamma, have conversations about the Dhamma, actually you're entering a different kind of a culture, a different way of thinking. And this is another way that's very powerful. So when you go to the grocery store, or when you go to the town hall, if you do that, or when you type an answer to somebody's email, or something in a chat, you're projecting a culture. And the culture is co-created among people. So this is another way that it is actually really powerful, unless you're a complete hermit who's not communicating with anybody. What you are trying to do with your inner work is making an addition to the culture in which you live. And it's creating that change.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Any more thoughts, questions?
Okay, Mima?
I thank you so much for this conversation today. I have found that there are many things about my personal culture, this personal culture, and I remember mentioning that in the university to one of the professors, things that I don't like not we don't make eye contact with men, Mexican men, because of the message it sends them and how they perceive us. And I don't want to lower my gaze. I want to be able to look. And she would tell me that there's certain things we can't get rid of because it's so deeply inculcated in us. And I have to literally work on not lowering my gaze when I interact with men because of work or whatever. But right now, what you said is like because of the practice, it's creating a new culture, like bringing that into the world, which is goodness. So it kind of helps me shift that perspective to it's not about liking or not liking it. It's the way it is, but I can add the dharmic culture to it, which is helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I wanted to ask if Ayya Sobhana, you could touch on what Ayya Sudhamma was brought up earlier about maybe just one or two ways that we can consider for handling severe crisis, adversity, torture, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
One practice is to look ahead and look behind. So at the beginning of the day to think if we're going to be encountering difficulties or not, and to in one way sort of prepare the mind for those difficult or challenging situations. So if you're going to have a conversation and it's likely to become a quarrel, to like rehearse a bit about not quarreling, and then at the end of the day to look back and just acknowledge what happened. And if something happened during the day which was hurtful or embarrassing or something, just to say, oh, that was painful, and just accepting that it was painful without saying, no, it's painful, I can't allow this to have been painful. It wasn't really painful, it should have been not painful. See, if I'm rejecting what happened, then I'm in trouble. But if I say, oh, yes, that hurt, or oh, that was embarrassing. So that's another aspect of it. They speak about guarding the senses as being a very one important initial training. It's the first training they teach monks and or even novices. So when they go to the village, they say that you don't have like monkey eyes, which is always jumping out, looking, oh, there's a pretty girl, or there's some nice fruits, or there's something in the store, or there's two people having some kind of conversation, and so the senses are always like a greedy looking around and trying to jump around at everything, but instead allowing the awareness to come in and like to make a like a sort of a mindful decision what to pay attention to. The Buddha said, what you pay attention to becomes the inclination of the heart. So if you've got a negative mind that always sees bad things and focuses on bad things and pays attention to bad things, then your heart could be very upset. But if you have like a balanced mind, which is able to see what's unwholesome, but also able to see the good, and try to give equal attention to the good. So like even some, really a delinquent kind of a person who's behaving badly, the least you could say about them is they want to be happy. They're trying to be happy. They're doing something that they think is going to be for their happiness. And that sliver of the desire for happiness is actually the beginning of their Bodhi mind. If they could only find a way to direct that wish for happiness in a wiser direction, that would be the way that they could come out of their unskillful thing and into something skillful. Or else, just looking in a balanced way to see both, not just focus on that which is painful, hurtful, harmful, and evil, but trying to see both. The practice of loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity is a tremendous protection for the mind. Maybe the best buffer or shock absorber. So if you double down on the loving kindness, one of my teachers, the bhikkhuni ordination is controversial, or used to be controversial, maybe it's accepted now, but back when it was more controversial, the existence of bhikkhunis in the world, there was one monk who used to be friendly, and then something happened, and he wrote a public letter that was so mean, so hurtful, and it was saying, you don't exist. Your entire spiritual path doesn't exist. It's completely not valid. And this is a monk who had been a friend who turned into like writing something so vicious. And uh, my friend who got this letter uh, said that she didn't sleep that night because she was trying to practice loving kindness towards that monk. And it took all night long before she was able to calm down the jitters and the shock and the reactivity and bring herself to a state of being equanimous and saying, well, that monk, he's being conscientious after what he understands. And it is what it is because of cause and conditions. It's not personal, and able to give the thought of kindness, the sincere wish for the welfare and well-being of that monk. So that's how important it is. It's the best medicine, the best protection. That's my thought about that.
I'd like to add a couple of thoughts. That's
Mhm.
excellent.
Want to read
Thank you.
Esther's comment?
Huh?
Go ahead.
Was there another thing to add?
Esther has a comment.
Oh, Esther. I like recognizing the pain and just naming it instead of getting hung up on whether or not it was fair. That one
Mhm.
helped me a lot in the past, yes.
Yes.
I was just not going to say something I've been thinking to point out to Buddhist children recently and other kids is to have something ready for when a bad thing happens, some way to turn their mind towards their religion, whatever the religion may be. So as a Buddhist, maybe you see an animal get hit by a car and you're just a passenger in another car going another direction. There's nothing to be done by you in that moment in terms of helping that being, but you're aware of this thing and there's a little bit of a shock and something is unfolding right in front of you that's quite disturbing. And so what do you do? What do you say? And so I get them to choose some kind of phrase to say to remind themselves of the bigger picture of their religion, such as Namo Buddhaya, or Buddhan Dhammang Sanghang Saranagacchami, I bow to the Buddha, or I go to refuge to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, or memorize the qualities of the Buddha and recite it. When we heard about the Twin Towers going down, people started gathering in the meditation hall and reciting the qualities. This is wiggling. Reciting the qualities of the Buddha, the nine qualities of the Buddha, 108 times. Like what is one's response in the moment? And whatever it is, I tell them, just rehearse it, just say it, repeatedly. There is a really, I won't go into it, but there's a very funny story in the I think it's in the canon. It's in the canon or commentary about a lady who was the wife of one of the chief top leaders of a clan of Brahmins, and she was carrying food to some religious people that her husband worshiped, but she was a Buddhist. And she tripped and almost dropped the whole platter of food, and she called out, Namo Buddhaya, and caught her balance. And the religious people that they were supposed to be feeding were so deeply offended that she called on the name of the Buddha that they all got up and left without eating. Her husband scolded her, and then he's standing there scolding the Buddha in absentia, saying, I'll give him a piece of my mind. The wife says, yeah, you do that. And so he went to scold the Buddha, and the Buddha responded so peacefully, the man ended up converting. And so it leads to a whole other bunch of stories. But so what do you say? Something shocking happened, something just happened. Are you prepared? Is your mind prepared to say something or think of something to just kind of balance oneself by remembering the religion? So get some phrasing, and it doesn't have to be Buddhism, just something, and have it ready. Angels protect. Whatever it is that's going to give you a moment of balance, and then in the middle of things or after things. Having tremendous self-compassion. I tell people, be on your own side. Be on your own side. Um, Back when I was going through some really hard things, I used to put one hand over my heart and stroke my hand and arm like it was an infant and say, it's okay. This is just what it is to be me right now, and it's okay. So just tremendous self-nurturing and in times of difficulty. There's just a couple of thoughts that I wanted to add.
Yeah. Well, I feel inspired already. Do we close by saying homage to the Buddha?
We could do that.
Homage to the noble, blessed, and perfectly
The
enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed,
noble,
and perfectly enlightened one. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Thank you for being here today, and thank you for the great questions and comments.
Ayya Sobhana, when will we see you again? Where will you be?
Keep an eye on my blue sky.
Okay, will do.
All right, bye everyone.